So Victor Wembanyama versus Chet Holmgren is one of those rivalries that's kind of always going to be there. It's been a rivalry realistically since long before they were both drafted. Obviously, Chet was in one draft earlier than Victor Wembanyama, but at the same time, like Chet Holmgren had beaten Victor Wembanyama in the 2021 World Cup in what was probably which is one of those games where like Wemby was not particularly happy about losing. Let's just say that much. And the one thing I will say when it comes to Chet and Wembanyama is I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, there's quite a big age gap between them. Like Chet Holmgren is born in May 2002, and Victor Wembanyama is born in 2004. So like Chet is nearly 2 years older than him. We have to say that. And as a rookie, Wemby was just better. But yesterday, Chet Holmgren destroyed Victor Wembanyama. And in a battle between the two of the game's best big men, brightest young stars, the Thunder, Chet Holmgren outdueled San Antonio Spurs Wembanyama, leading his team to a victory. Chet Holmgren had 19 points on 10 shots, 5 steals, 2 blocks, while Wemby only shot the ball 5 times and had a career low 6 points. That is mental. That is absolutely mental. But like, again, this is a rivalry, as you guys will hear here. This is a rivalry that Chet, like, this is not like, Victor doesn't hate Chet as a person. Victor despises Chet Holmgren, the basketball player, just because of what he did and stopped him from winning a World Cup.
What happens when you bring up Chet to Victor?
Well, Chet is not exactly Candyman, but Victor will not even say the man's name.
Wow.
And that's pretty much been the theme ever since Victor Wembanyama arrived in San Antonio.
Nothing to do with him arriving in San Antonio, by the way. I don't understand where this came from. It's like, oh, since he's arrived in San Antonio. No, this is long before either of these guys played in the NBA.
Malik, let me give you an example. Monday night, we specifically asked Victor Wembanyama about the matchup with Chet Holmgren. This is what he said. He said, I'm excited to get back to winning ways. It's always a good challenge to play Oklahoma City. And he said he watched every one of Oklahoma City's games. Now, what you didn't hear was Chet Holmgren. He does not mention the guy's name. And I think it's because, that there is a real budding rivalry here. And on both sides, both of those guys are trying to take the attention away from the rivalry and put it specifically on the teams, Oklahoma City.
And I will say that the rivalry, and the one I really want to say is this is not an OKC versus San Antonio Spurs. This is Victor Wembanyama. I think as far as I'm aware, Chet said something to Victor Wembanyama at some stage about the World Cup. And like, people don't understand this is like, if you're not American, Victor Wembanyama, hypothetically, Victor Wembanyama could win 5 MVPs, 5 Defensive Player of the Years, and 5 rings. He would trade every single one of them to win either an Olympics, a World Cup, or, well, maybe not a basketball World Cup, probably a basketball World Cup, or even that under-19 World Cup. He would trade every one of those to win that under-19 World Cup in France. That's the biggest thing. He would trade every single one of those. But, yeah, so as you can see here, but right now, Holmgren is 5-1 against Wemby. Current edge goes to OKC. Well, yeah, no shit. Like, Wemby's not playing with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and J-Dub and stuff. But, like, the Thunder it says here, all the hype Victor Wembanyama, not in the offseason, should have went to Chet Holmgren. No, like, you're not judging based on one game. But at the same time, Chet was better today. But we can't forget that, like, even though, like, Chet, out of the 4 times they played before this, Chet was better in one of the 4, and Victor destroyed him the other 3 times. Like, if you swapped Victor Wembanyama and Chet, the Thunder are favorites to win the whole thing. But I do also want to say Chet is a lock to be an all-star. So is Wemby. 2 of them are locks. But I think they're quite different players. I do think Chet is the better offensive player. And I think if you offered OKC to swap the 2 of them, they would obviously say yes. That's what it all comes down to. But we're now seeing Wembanyama, like, he's no longer the rookie. Like, he is expected to be a top 10 player, and I don't quite think he has that consistency yet on the offensive end to break into that top 5 player category. My thing with Wemby in the top 10 is that he's so good on defense, and he definitely leads the league in, like, hell no's, where, like, players just run to the basket, see him there, and they're just like, nah, I'm not shooting this. Even though Chet is an exceptional shot blocker in his own. But that's the thing where it's like, this is going to be a big rivalry. And there's no player that I've been more wrong about, by the way, than Chet Holmgren. When Chet Holmgren was drafted number 2, I remember watching him play in Gonzaga, and I'm like, I do not take this guy in the lottery. I just remember looking at his like shot blocking stats, and I'm like, he's only such a good shot blocker because he's such a bad defender that he throws himself out of position and blocks shots. And I was like, he's not a good enough offensive player. He's too weak. He's going to get bullied. Like, I've never been as wrong about a prospect as I was about Chet Holmgren. And I'll admit it. Like, again, because it's one of those things where maybe Brandon Miller, I was almost as wrong about. I thought Brandon Miller was going to be a bust. Like, everyone, when they talk about prospects, are going to be wrong with prospects. It's the reason why there are so many draft busts. Guys that are paid 100 times more than I am to talk about things, talk about the sport of basketball, are make bad decisions as well. But this is going to be a rivalry. And for a minute, like, look, I get it. Chet outplayed Wemby, but Wemby's still the better player. Wemby's still shown more in the NBA. Wemby still has the higher ceiling. But we're looking at 2 guys that are going to be pushing for an all-NBA spot this year. Like, the Thunder could potentially be... Like, the Thunder go and win 60-something games. Chet could win MVP. It's not Chet could win MVP. Shea could win MVP. Chet could be all-NBA, second, third team. So could Victor Wembanyama. But this could be the time where it's like, maybe Chet makes the All-Star team when Victor doesn't. I think Chet might be more of a lock for that All-Star team than Victor. I still think Victor's a lock because, like, I don't think Sabonis... Like, if you're looking at the Western Conference teams, like, Cat's gone from the West. Julius Randle's not going to be an All-Star. Rudy Gobert's not going to be an All-Star. And that's the thing where it's like, if you're looking at bigs in the West, Jokic is guaranteed to be an All-Star. Markkanen, is he considered a big? May or may not be an All-Star. Şengün, I don't think is going to be an All-Star over either of these guys. No Warriors big is going to be an All-Star. No, Zubac might win Most Improved. He's not going to be an All-Star. AD is going to be an All-Star. Sabonis, I have no idea. Zion won't be an All-Star this year. Edie obviously is not going to be an All-Star. So you're looking now at the like bigs from the West, and for me, it probably is going to be AD, Chet, Jokic, Wemby, and maybe if they go with 5, which I doubt they do, Domantas Sabonis. That would be my prediction, or maybe maybe Wemby not making that team and Sabonis coming in, because AD is a lock, Jokic is a lock. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That was a good game yesterday, and Chet definitely got one up over Victor Wembanyama in what is going to be a rivalry for the ages, considering how good both of these guys are.